Having been inspired by cleaning up my desk area yesterday, I have started another series called Morning Scribbler. This is from an old watercolor painting that I had done, and then it was a combination of watercolor and some acrylic. And then I cold waxed it. I bound the edge. Actually, I bound the pages into it. I made it out of recycled file folders, which work really well with ink. Over here, I have one of my mother's dip pens. This is an Esterbrook pen. She used both Esterbrook and the Morissette, and I have the Morissette that I'll be using too. And this, let's see, okay, you can see the fins. Now, this is not a fed ink pen. It has to be dipped. Because of the gills that you see, they hold the ink and you can draw for longer without having to re-dip. And this is a holder that was my mother's. I guess my love for fountain pens and ink pens comes from watching her pay bills as a child, but I do remember this being on her desk. Then I have water because I'm also going to experiment with doing some washes, blending the ink into some values. Maybe not, don't know. It's morning and I'll be scribbling. I am going to probably sketch something in my corner that I cleaned up. It's not totally cleaned up, but certainly is a whole lot better than it was. What I'm drawing now is a stone vase that I gave to Tom many years ago. It came with a shoot of bamboo in it. This is a beautiful big piece of stone that had a hole right there drilled into it. So now I have dried flowers in it that Maria gave me this year for my birthday. And I like them. They're very delicate. There's some nice red violets and then some warmer red violets and then some very, very gentle pink ones. And when I arranged these, I actually did arrange these in the vase yesterday when I was cleaning up my desk area and decided I want to set something up to create just a really great, almost meditative space for myself, since I have so much paperwork that I have to do that is not the fun part of being an artist. I don't mean paperwork like business bills and that sort of thing. That is not fun. This morning Scribbler idea, I'm really loving it. It came into being just by accident. I was replying to one of the artists on one of the many learning groups that I contribute to on Facebook. I mentioned something about joining me as a morning scribbler, and I really had never used that term for myself before, but it caught in my mind. And when I woke up this morning, I thought to myself, that's pretty common. I'm sure that somebody has that as a domain name. I mean, really, probably was gone long ago. But it was actually available, and I thought the last thing I need is yet another blog. More time spent on the computer, on the internet, and I just want to be back in my studio. But it was a nudge, and I thought, well, I draw every morning anyway. Might actually catch on, and if there's a site for it, maybe more people will be inspired to draw as they're sipping their cup of coffee. This is really hoping that I can inspire just a few more people to add daily sketching into their lives. They may not all be great sketches. Most of them probably won't be. This is how I learn. This is how I finally am able to draw really well when I want to. Most of the time, I just enjoy scribbling. I did a series called Diner Doodles one time, and that's something that the kids and I did when we would travel. Took a lot of road trips when they were little, and it's something that I did as a kid. Kept us out of trouble while waiting for the food to come. As a kid, my family took a lot of road trips too. And then maybe 20 years down the line, I'll get an email or a light flash mail or whatever it is at the time with somebody saying, remember when you used to do morning scribbles? Well, I started and it changed my life. And then I'll know that today's decision to start Morning Scribbler was a good one. Okay, now that was done with only one dip of this pen. This is Heart of Darkness, I think. It's a Noodler's ink that I filled the inkwell with, and it's been in the bottle for more than 2 years, certainly a lot longer than 2 years. I don't want to put it into any of my fountain pens, so I'm going to use it in the dip pen. Here's the bottle. It is the Heart of Darkness, and this was Noodler's ink. I haven't washed this out yet. Dripped a little bit into there so that I can use that with my brush. Now this will be a designated brush for ink because I don't want to use it for watercolor too after I've used it for ink. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you'll join me again for more morning scribbles. This is Chris Carter. Have a great day. Travel the world with pen and brush. Good morning. This is Chris Carter, Morning Scribbler, and today is Valentine's Day. I was given this giant Hershey's Kiss by my dear husband, Tom. And I am going to scribble that this morning using this Pentel ink brush. This is an ink brush that, let's see. Oh, looks like it's going to be out of ink in no time. This uses a cartridge. So we'll see how far I go before I have to replace the cartridge. I believe this was pretty inexpensive. This is not my favorite ink brush, but for this series of just scribbling in the morning, I will experiment with different things. I don't know why the S's are backwards. I never noticed that before. Kisses are not the easiest thing to draw. I like that better than these. This is what happens with morning sketches, is that you give up your initial attempt to make it really work well, and then you just start to have fun. Even after all these years, I have a tendency to get too tight, and I am running out of ink now. Thanks for watching Morning Scribbler. I'm Chris Carter. Good morning, this is Chris Carter. Last night, I did this sketch while I was waiting for a film to render. I used a dip pen in some ink. It was not permanent ink, it was regular water-soluble ink. And then I added some clean water to it to make it bleed to get a value. And I decided to do that again this morning for my morning sketch. So what I'm doing is I will use a dip pen, a different kind of dip pen. This is one with a brass tip to it. And I'm going to be dipping that into blue ink. I'm going to be playing around with making some gorgeous greens using a cool yellow and a warm yellow. And I have my jar of water, convenient, so that I can clean off a brush or dip into it. Then I also have, in another inkwell, I have clear water and an eyedropper so that I can moisten these. And all of this, now that I've organized my desk, it's all very handy. And my little brass critter is to weight down and keep this side of my sketchbook open. let's get going on my morning sketch of creating interesting, I don't know if they'll be gorgeous, but interesting greens using 2 watercolor yellows and a blue ink. First thing I'll do is to moisten my watercolors. And my plan is to just use these instead of just the clear water to wet the ink and get it to flow and turn into green. So we'll see what happens.